Okay, today we're doing solving rational equations by multiplying or dividing. So we have been reviewing equations a lot. On our last test, we actually took it on simple equations. So our next test will actually be on rational equations. And if you remember, rational is fractions and decimals and things like that. The one thing I really like about rational equations are it's not as easy to do in your head. And so it really helps if you know what you're doing. Okay, so now the steps are the same as what we've done on every other equations notes. First step is to draw railroad tracks on either side of the equal sign. Okay, and with that, circle the variable and anything attached to it. Don't forget the negative. I cannot tell you how often you guys are still forgetting that negative. Okay, if there is a negative involved, that must be circled too. It's really important that you remember that. Sorry, I'm yawning. Okay, 3. The goal is to get the variable by itself by using inverse operations. Now remember that word. That is a key word right here. Inverse operations. So it's the same thing as opposite operations. And remember, whatever you do to one side must do to the other. That is really the point of this railroad tracks. I just say railroad because it kind of looks like a railroad. But the point of separating these two is so you remember that whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So now when we're looking for the inverse operation, okay, you know that we're multiplying or dividing. That's what these notes are on. And so if the fraction here is attached to the variable like this, that is being multiplied. It's 2/6 times x. So the opposite of times is to divide by 2/6. Divide by 2/6. And then those are going to cancel and leave you with an x equals, solve for the variable. If you notice, that's exactly what we're doing, solving for the variable. And then leave fraction improper. Okay, it does not need to be a mixed number or anything. And so now we have -12 divided by 2/6, -36. And then number 5 is to check your solution. It's important that you just know how to check, and you just check by plugging x in for x. So you have 2/6 times x, but x is -36. -12. Perfect. Okay. Now, if you notice I'm going kind of quick, mostly because we've seen this all before. In theory, which means it should be true, but it might not be true for everyone. In theory, this should be pretty much review. Now, together, we have our railroad tracks, circle the variable. If you notice the difference between this problem and this problem, it's directly under the variable. Where if you see here, it's 3/4 next to the variable, this is being multiplied. But because this is underneath it, this is being divided. So the opposite of divide is to multiply. Multiply by 3.6. Those are going to cancel and leave you with x. That's why I write it up there, is so it's easier to cancel. Okay, and now you have -96 times 3.6, which is negative 345.6. Number 2, railroad tracks, circle the variable. Okay, negative 1.6 times t. The opposite of times is to divide by 1.6. Divide by negative 1.6. Those cancel and leave you with the t. And then you have negative 4.8 divided by negative 1.6. Hey, positive 3. That makes life pretty easy, huh? Now on number 3, railroad tracks, circle the variable. These are being multiplied. Okay, just like what we did on our example, I think that's going to be the hardest part, is recognizing what is happening. Because most of you know the inverse, but you forget what is actually happening. These are being multiplied. That's what operation is taking place. Okay, multiplication. The opposite is division. So you're going to divide by 3/4 to both sides. Those cancel and leave you with the g. And you have negative 12 divided by 3/4. Negative 16. Okay, now you have 3 problems here. In this case, it's just like this. They're being divided, multiplied, multiplied. So you have to find the opposite operations. Hopefully that wasn't too bad, and you can get those done pretty quick. Good luck.